For those of you that don't know what the Autumn Leaves bundle is, it's this amazing bundle here with autumn leaves. Makes sense. And then you've got the die set. We also have this fantastic, what is this stuff even called? Oxidized copper paper. That's part of this whole suite of stuff. And so we've got the actual copper, and then we have the kind of, I guess it's probably pretty peacock in copper. And then I don't know what this is called, but I know Cheryl's going to come through for me. This is the paper that is in the same suite of products, and you will get some of this in your kit if you purchase it from me. There is a link in the description of this video to register for the class that'll be ready later on in the month. But here are the kind of gold or copper foil patterns with the beautiful colors, and then the opposite sides are actual photographs of kind of fall things, which is really fun. So you'll get a half a pack of this paper in your kit, a half a pack of this paper in your kit. Thank you, Cheryl. It's called All About Autumn paper. You'll get a half a package of the speckled dots, and then you'll get the ribbon combo pack, the copper skinny stuff, and then the kind of, it probably has a name, but I don't know what it is, this kind of other stuff. How's that for a description? And then the kit includes all the pre-cut cardstock pieces to create 8 cards, 2 each of 4 different designs, and they all come with envelopes as well. The shipping is included in the price. It's $48, shipped to you, natural. Thank you, Cheryl. This is natural ribbon. So if you're interested in getting this kit, link is in the description. So let's make a beautiful card with this stuff. Okay. So I took one of these 6x6 papers, and I already cut it, but I kind of wanted to show you how I cut it so you'll know how to cut it. So I wanted the front, I wanted a piece of the paper to be as big as a card front, but not quite. So a card front is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I cut this piece of paper to 4 3/16 by 5 and 7/16. I know that's a stupid measurement, but that's what I decided to do. If you get the kit, you can do it 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. You can do whatever you want. So then that left me with a strip of paper on the bottom here that is 4. Well, actually, you'd cut it at, so it's actually 4 3/16 by 9/16. And then this piece over here, I am using for the envelope, and I realize it doesn't really fit, but I just put it on the envelope, and then I cut off the excess envelope. And then if I have to add a little more adhesive here to put it in the mail, I will. I'm not concerned about that. So that's kind of how you would cut your 6x6 piece of paper to get all the parts for one card. And you'll have 2 of these pieces of paper, not this pattern, but this pattern. You'll have 2 in the kit. Okay, so let me get this out of the way. So here are some of the pieces. So here's my pretty peacock card base. This is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. Here is my 4 3/16 by 5 7/16. So it just almost covers the front. So we're going to go ahead, and I know I'm covering up this beautiful pumpkin paper. I know a lot of you are probably going to be sad. I'm a little bit sad, but in all honesty, oh, that's not the adhesive I like. That's my Seal Plus. I like regular Seal better. Okay. So I'm going to stick this on, and I guess the reason I cut it just a tiny bit small is because sometimes, when you cut a card base, it might be a little bit smaller than it's supposed to be. I mean, you just never know. So I thought if my designer series paper was a tiny bit smaller, it would probably fit on here a little bit better. Of course, now I can't see because I'm trying to put Pretty Peacock on Pretty Peacock, and well, that's a little difficult, but I think we got it. Okay, so we have our card front now with this beautiful copper and Pretty Peacock paper. So you'll also get in your kit a piece of Very Vanilla, and this measures 3 5/8 by 4 3/8, and that's going to layer on a piece of copper clay that is 3 3/4 by 4 1/2. You're going to cut 3 leaves out of the piece of copper clay. So we have our 3 leaves here that we're going to just kind of maybe use on the inside of the card. We'll do that. Then out of one of the copper fancy pieces, That's what I call it when I don't know what it's called. Oxidized copper. You'll need to cut one of these veiny pieces out of that. So we have that. Then you're going to need to get one of these large leaves. Now, I still have my Stamparatus. So for those of you that have a Stamparatus, you're going to get a scrap of Pretty Peacock cardstock. You'll die cut what I call a blank. And then I stick it in my Stamparatus because I've already made my, because I did a whole bunch of cards for a swap. And so I just left this in here. So how I created this initial template was I stamped the large leaf on this piece of paper, and then I die cut it very precisely. I was very precise about putting the die on. I tacked it down with Post-it tape before I ran it through and all that good stuff. So it was perfectly cut. So now all I have to do is I bring in a blank, which is just a blank piece of cardstock, and then I just ink up my leaf with my Pretty Peacock ink, and then we're going to stamp it. Now, if you don't have a Stamparatus or some kind of stamp positioning tool, don't fret it. You'll just stamp your leaf on a piece of Pretty Peacock and die cut it. This just because I already had this done. So there it is. Very simple for me to do. Like I said, I made swaps, so I was making like 30 of them, and I didn't want to, you know, stamp and die cut 30. It's much easier to make a blank and then use the Stamparatus. So there you go. Okay, so we have one of those. We have one of these. These are going to obviously go together. We need to do a little stamping on this piece here. So I've got a foam mat, and I have a couple of the leaf images. So I have these two from the stamp set, and I've got some copper clay ink. I also have my sentiment from the set, and I'm going to use the Pretty Peacock ink for my sentiment, and I am going to put it down here in the corner. This is the bottom left corner. There. Then I'm going to end up placing, well, I guess I could glue this together. So let me get some, I'm going to use some liquid glue. Now, if I was a smart person, I would have cut this out of our adhesive sheets, but I'm not. And so here we are. So I'm going to add some glue to this. As you can see, I was a little crazy there with the glue. So I got some of the glue off. And now I'm going to add this so that we have our leaf veins in there. All right, there we go. So this piece is now done. I'm going to set that aside. So I kind of want this leaf to be kind of like that. So I'm going to try to stamp these leaves behind. So I've got the copper clay, I've got the leaf. I kind of want it to be about right here. So I'm going to move my leaf out of the way. I'm going to stamp that. I'm going to huff on it, and then I'm going to stamp it again kind of up here. So now I have the two leaves. Can't even pick that up. So we have something like that. And now I have this duo leaf thing here. And I'm going to do something kind of crazy. I'm going to ink it up. So I've got both leaves full strength. I'm going to bring in a scratch paper right to the edge of my foam mat. And I'm going to stamp one of these leaves off. See how I can, because I can kind of see between those two leaves. So I've stamped one off, huffed on it. Oh goodness, look what I just did. I screwed that right up. All right, it's still going to be fine. Everything's fine. And I'm going to stamp this over here so that when I stick that on, I've got some more leaves. I'm going to end up gluing that down. That was my bad. Okay, so now I can glue this. I'm going to put a little bit of glue kind of in the middle, and then just a tiny little bit on this piece that I messed up. And I'm going to lay my leaf down. There, it's done. I also have a little scrap of vellum that you'll get in your kit, and so I have some vellum leaves here also. So I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive to the base, and since I didn't totally cover this with glue, I can kind of lift that up and then tuck these underneath. And maybe what would have been a better plan would be to glue these to the back of this leaf. I don't know. It's fine. It's all going to be fine. And then I'm going to put a little bit on this maple leaf, and I'm going to tuck this under here like that. Okay, so we have that part done. Now we're going to glue this to this. So I'm going to add my glue around this piece here. And then we're going to do something really fun with this natural ribbon that okay, so we have this so far. So now I'm going to cut off a chunk of this ribbon that is about the same length as my piece. And then I'm going to cut off this little border piece right here. Get that whole little edge off. And now if you want, there's two ways you can do this next part. If you want to, you can kind of go in and out here, kind of like making a wave, so that this isn't going to be nice and straight. You see what I'm doing? I'm kind of notching it, I guess, in a sense. So I'm kind of going in and coming out. I'm going to go in and come out. So I'm notching it because that's going to be helpful. Now I'm going to make a giant mess because I am now going to pull all these little threads out. I'm going to pull a whole bunch because I want this fun kind of fringy edge to be there. And we're going to put that on the edge of our copper clay piece. And since I've already notched it, it kind of looks a little random. You can sort of see how random that looks. It's not straight. I don't want it to be straight because straight is too hard. We don't want this to be hard. We want it to be easy. So pull a bunch of those off until it looks about how you would want it to be. Then we're going to add some adhesive down here on the back of this layer, like so. And then look what we're going to do. We're going to add some fringe, just like that. And then all you have to do is then trim off the excess. Okay. Get this excess off. And since we already kind of did the wave, it definitely looks not super random, which is the exact look we're going for. Okay, where's my dimensionals? All right, so now I've got all these little edge pieces here. We're going to add this to our card base with the dimensionals. I better put one in the middle. You never know. You just don't want stuff to sag because that's a bummer. So this is a really fun way to use this ribbon, I thought. Okay, so now we'll just kind of center this on the front of the card as best we can with the eyeballs that we were given. Okay, so then the inside, we've got this little leftover strip. We're just going to add this to the bottom. So just bump it to the bottom. It's going to be a little long, which is totally fine. You know what I always say, it's better to be too long than too short. And then just snip off that excess. And then we've got those 3 leaves that we got out of that copper clay layer on the front. And so you don't have to use them all. I just thought 3 might be kind of fun. I'm just going to use 2, I think. Yeah. So I'm going to add a little glue back here. I'm going to tuck that under since my glue isn't completely dry. And then I'm going to do this little guy here. And this is going to kind of go over this one a little. There we go. I'll add this to the inside. We've already got our envelope done with our little excess piece there. And so again, you'll get all these pieces pre-cut. I mean, you're going to get scraps because you're going to have to cut and stamp your own leaves and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, you'll get that. To create the card, I need my dots. Got some random ribbon pieces here. So we've got some copper clay dots here. So let's go ahead and get my take your pick tool out again. And we'll add some dots. Yeah, that was a glue booger or something. I don't know. All right, so I think I'm going to go 2 down here. Whoops. 2 down here. And then a big one up here. There it is. And here's our coordinating envelope. Yay! So happy how this card came out, you guys.